It's time for Clemson Sports Talk with Lawton Swan.
Please call me Swanee.
Tiger style. Tiger style.
It is hour number 2. That's drive time right here on the show that shakes the Southland. Clemson Sports Talk, Lawton Swan with you, Roddy Jones. Set to join the program momentarily. John in Archdale, North Carolina says, Swanee, I tweeted at Trent Simpson and I asked him to dedicate the first half of play in Raleigh to you. To our confused friend. Thanks, John. I don't think it was confusion. Did I claim confusion? I don't think so. Did I use the word confused? It all just came down. Was that what that was? It all just came down to that game. I'm blaming the game. I'm blaming the fact that game lasted 18 hours. I don't know if there's such thing as jet lag from covering a football game, but I'm claiming it. That was something else. 803-450-0086. Text line, phone line, like, share, subscribe. Tell your friends and neighbors to step on in. Ring that bell over on YouTube. Get up with Roddy Jones, but my didn't this happen last week with Roddy? You know what I'm convinced? The Gamecock Gremlins again. The show that shakes the Southland starts ripping through the ratings. Boom goes the Dynamite, Gremlins. There's probably, I guarantee you, if you go over to Greystone Boulevard right now, there are probably multiple cars in the parking lot with Gamecock flags, messing with something to try to keep me off the airwaves. Trying to keep me from getting my guests on the show, so on and so forth. But that can only hold me down so long, because if I wasn't doing this show, I'd be doing a tech show. Trust me on that. Matter of fact, if anybody in a suit at iHeart's listening today, I would love to do a show about technology as well. I think I could bring some fantastic coverage to the latest operating systems for your mobile device. I believe that. That's what I'll do. Tech guy by day, radio show guy by afternoon, dad by night. I can promise you this, our next guest, Roddy Jones, knows a little bit about that same deal. Roddy joins us on a Thursday afternoon. He does the radio show. He does the dad thing. He's as busy as I am. Roddy, what's up, man? Welcome in. And I got to tell you, congratulations to your Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets for a heck of a ball game in Death Valley. I would say Saturday afternoon, evening, and also night. That was a long game.
Yeah, all of Saturday is what the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, what it took for them to lose in heartbreaking fashion. But it was a good performance by Georgia Tech. I give Coach Collins and those guys a lot of credit. When anytime you play a team as good as Clemson that closely, it's a good statement for your program and where you're at. Now you just got to duplicate it against North Carolina.
And that's what I told Tiger fans. Keep your eyeballs on that game. If you want a kind of a measuring stick here, if North Carolina just slices and dices Georgia Tech this weekend, that's really going to bother a lot of people in Tiger Town. But that'll all happen after Clemson and NC State face off. So first and foremost, Roddy, I have not liked or appreciated as an analyst. And again, I didn't play college sports, so I don't know for sure. You can tell me. I have not really appreciated, hey, they hit us with some looks and some schemes and some structures that we weren't prepared for. Like, to me, That is not a valid excuse for what happened Saturday in Death Valley. You're a former player. You tell me what you thought.
I do feel like it is a valid thing to point out. When the talent difference is so great, though, it's not a valid excuse for what happened. I mean, I remember those early season games where you would go in not really knowing what to expect from these teams and getting a look that maybe you did not spend as much time on, or in Georgia Tech's case, a look, or excuse me, in Clemson's case, a look against Georgia Tech that they are just now breaking out full time for the first time. I mean, that was basically a whole new defense for Georgia Tech that they used on a down and down out basis. So I get how that can be a little offsetting for a young football team and for a young quarterback in particular. But ultimately, like, you're Clemson, and Georgia Tech is not there yet where they can roll out a defense and just all of a sudden confuse what you've got going on. And as a reference point, look at what happened 2 years ago in Jeff Collins' first season when Georgia Tech went up to Clemson. Now, the talent level for Georgia Tech has improved somewhat since then, but they kind of caught Clemson off guard then, too, with how they lined up. It was completely different than they lined up this year. Trevor had the early interception to Trey Swilling, threw another one right before halftime. It was a bad interception. But that team figured it out and ended up demolishing Georgia Tech. I think the final score was 56-7. That's how it should be when you're playing a team that opens up with a defense that you're not expecting and you are significantly more talented. Like, if it takes a little bit to get going, that's fine, but you eventually have to get going because the talent should take over, and it just didn't against this Clemson offense last week. So I'm a little concerned about Clemson on offense, Lawton. I really am.
Yeah, I agree. And I said this just a little bit ago. I think that what amazes me is, like, I think from the outside looking in, we all thought that DJ Uiagalelei would be a willing participant in the run game, sort of like what we've seen from Taj Boyd, what we saw from Deshaun Watson, Kelly Bryant, and to a degree, even Trevor Lawrence. But you go back and watch that Georgia game, and it really felt like DJ wanted to stay in the pocket, wanted to keep his eyes downfield, wanted to showcase his arm. I think for this offense to go to the next level, they've got to compel him or even force him, if that's what it takes, I guess. I don't know how that works exactly, but to be a bigger component in this running attack.
Could not agree with you more. I mean, I think that the thing that we need to realize, and maybe this is just me kind of remembering what I choose to remember, but Clemson doesn't really run their quarterbacks that much early in the season. Usually that's something that gets more involved as the season goes on. But I think that was when you had quarterbacks that were experienced. It was when you had quarterbacks that had played a lot of football, and you knew they were eventually they could just fit in the quarterback run game to really take off what you're doing on offense. I think that you need to almost go the other way with DJ and say, hey, look, let's get you involved running the football so that you can get more comfortable in the games, and that can really get you going throwing the ball. I think the other part of it, Lawton, and I don't know this to be a fact, I'm just speculating, but it's possible that Clemson has some concerns with the backup quarterback position. You know, if DJ were to go down, are they comfortable with Tyson Fumachan this soon after an Achilles injury? Are they comfortable with one of the young freshmen coming in the game? So they may be protecting him as much as anything to save them from having to play with the backup quarterback. But I agree with you, man. Like, you have to eventually get him involved in the run game, especially when you're playing teams that are going to go light boxes and to give you more advantage in the run game.
So he's got a big arm. We know that. By the way, Roddy Jones with us here on the program. You can follow Roddy on Twitter right now. Head over there. It's at Roddy Jones 20 from the ACC Network and SiriusXM. So DJ's got a huge arm. I still don't feel like Clemson's testing teams down the field. And I get it. They've got these coverages that are trying to force the issue for Clemson, so to speak. But does it not still stretch the defense if you run some routes that are accentuated by a deep ball that's maybe overthrown by 10 yards versus never even attempting that type of throw? Or, you know, just as the lay guy that's never had to be in the film room and watch it, is that something that you're just not going to do?
No, I think that's something that can be coached, and it's something that should be. He should be advised to take some shots. Like, you got Justin Ross and Joe Ngata and Joe and DJ Williams. Like, those guys are all bigger recruits than all of the defensive backs that they're going to play this year from other teams. Eventually, yes, just run, tell Justin Ross, hey, go deep. I'm going to throw it up to you. Let's see what happens. And do that a couple times a game. And honestly, it's something that Clemson did a few years ago with Mike Williams. Like, if you remember those Mike Williams, Deshaun Watson teams, when they got in trouble, they eventually just said, all right, look, Mike Williams is better than your corner. And Deshaun Watson's a better quarterback than you can defend. So let's just throw it up and see what happens. And it was back shoulders. It was over the top. It was our guys are better than your guys. Let's go see them make plays. They've done it some. They did it some with T. Higgins. They did it some with Justin Ross in Trevor's sophomore year. But they have not done it much this season with Justin Ross coming back. I think, with his ball skills, maybe he needs to move back outside. But you got to find some way to push the ball down the field, even if you're forcing it a little bit. As long as it's not in double coverage, those guys are big enough, strong enough, and athletic enough to come down and make their fair share of plays.
Couldn't agree more. Roddy Jones with us at Roddy Jones 20 on Twitter. Now, on the defensive side of the ball, Clemson seems still to be, top of the mark in the country, one of the top. No touchdowns given up, 3 straight games. Just such an impressive feat that they put together. It's hard, I think, for people at this point to, quantify, whatever the right term is, what they're seeing. You've got this one team that is elite on one side of the ball, and on the other side, sort of struggling right now. I also hypothesize this. Could some of DJ's issues be manufactured at practice by going up against Clemson's defense? And I know they're not going game speed, but could some of the things, if we believe it's the 6 inches between his ears that are bothering him right now, could any of that be coming from practice?
It could be. It's something I hadn't thought about, but it's a great point. Like, if you're taking some of those deep shots in practice throughout camp, and Andrew Booth's coming down with some of those balls instead of Joe Ngata, then yeah, sure, that can creep into your head. The thing that he needs to realize is you're not going to play another corner as good as Andrew Booth all season. So those guys that may look human in practice, you've got to realize that they are superhumans playing against other superhumans in practice, just like he is, So while guys may look normal and mortal when you are on Clemson's campus on the practice field, when you go and play other teams, you've got to trust that, hey, our guys are really, really good, and they can go and make some plays. So it's a great point by you. I had not thought of that, but it is a very valid concern when you're talking about a guy that's having the sort of struggles and the hesitation that he's having right now.
Well, look, you know a lot more about what practice looks like than I do for these guys, so I didn't know how quote unquote competitive it is. But I mean, that was something that kind of came to me just thinking about what he might deal with on a regular basis from Brent Venables at practice, who, according to everybody that's seen it and been around it, doesn't hold back a whole lot. As a matter of fact, kind of can get kind of tricky at practice as well. This weekend, Roddy Jones will be on the call on the ACC network as Richmond and Virginia Tech face off alongside Wes Durham. You know him from Packer and Durham. And I know you guys have been all around the ACC. I haven't back-checked your schedule. Have you seen NC State yet this year in person? If you have, what is your take on Dave Duran's squad? If you haven't, Roddy, what's your take on what Clemson will see on Saturday?
We have not seen NC State yet this year, and we did have their spring game, though. So there is some familiarity with what they've got going on. And I think NC State is an experienced team. I thought this offense would be a little bit further along, especially when you look at the struggles that they had against Mississippi State. So I think this is a very solid team. It may very well be the best offense that Clemson has faced so far, at least with where Georgia was game one. I mean, Georgia's gone on and run up the score against everybody since that Clemson game. So maybe they are a good offense and Clemson's just that good on defense. But NC State is going to be a solid offense with a solid run game. I don't think they run the ball quite the way I thought they would this season. Devin Leary has been a little bit up and down, but if he gets hot, he's as good as any quarterback, short of Sam Howell and maybe Brennan Armstrong, the way he's playing, and Kenny Pickett. He's as good as all the rest of them. And then defensively, they're without their leading tackler and their big leader on defense, Peyton Wilson. That's a big loss for them. But it's a 3-3-5 defense that's really experienced. They're talented up front. They are experienced in the secondary, although they can be gotten a little bit. So I expect Clemson to target that secondary and say, hey, look, we're going to make your secondary go make plays. against our great receivers. And if they can do that, I think it'll go a long way to boosting the confidence of the Tigers.
Roddy Jones again with us here on Clemson Sports Talk. So you mentioned it, their 3-3-5 defense. That's exactly what Georgia Tech was really showing Clemson this past weekend. I would expect that Clemson's got adjustments that have been made from the standpoint of the running backs. I know you really like Will Shipley. Obviously, Clemson now with Lynn J. Dixon leaving, Kobe Pace still back there. And Dabo Swinney would say, hey, look, if Mikey Dukes cleans some things up, we like him and we trust Darian Rencher. And we got Phil Maffa if we need him for 4 games, and we're still going to try to redshirt him. You're a former running back. Looking at that defense, if there's an inability to rush the football, is there anything else Clemson missed this past weekend against Georgia Tech that they could have taken advantage of to help get the running backs in the game and out in space that perhaps we might see this weekend that'll help them out?
I think the big thing is they just missed some throws early on that could have loosened up Georgia Tech, in my opinion. You know, there were some tight window throws, not super tight, but like towards the sideline. Some post routes and stuff in the middle of the field, RPO-wise, that you're trying to take advantage of that DJ just missed. And at that point, I think you're able to help yourself out a little bit. The thing in the run game is like Georgia Tech wasn't being overly complicated in terms of their rush defense. They were just beating Clemson up front. You know, they were kind of playing a light box, daring Clemson to run the football and then collapsing to the ball with an extra defender, whether that be a safety or a linebacker. And I think that up front, Clemson just struggled with the different looks and slants and movement that Georgia Tech did. Nothing all that complicated. It's just a lot of different stuff that you're having to process very quickly. And if those guys aren't on the same page, then it can be very evident very quickly. So I would expect NC State to do something similar. They're a little more stagnant than what Georgia Tech was a week ago. More like what Virginia played against North Carolina, which North Carolina was obviously able to take advantage of. So it'll be interesting to see how Clemson responds to defense that's a little less dynamic in terms of what they do than Georgia Tech. You're going to get a little bit more consistent looks from this NC State team on defense.
Final thing for him, Roddy Jones, again, the ACC Network, Sirius XM as well, and on Twitter at Roddy Jones 20. This game, I think, from the state fan perspective, like they can smell blood in the water, so to speak. I mean, this is an opportunity for them to create an atmosphere that is through the roof and maybe seize a little bit of control in the Atlantic Division of the ACC. Like for the first time in a long time, Clemson wouldn't have control of the league. How electric do you think this environment could be, even though it's a mid-afternoon game, with that 3:30 kickoff? But I would expect Wolfpack fans are going to be feeling themselves on Saturday, for lack of a better term.
They're going to be fired up. And look, all the ill will that state fans were feeling after the Mississippi State game can all be erased if they go out and have a good performance against Clemson and win the football game. And you're right. Like there is a sense amongst the league that Clemson is vulnerable. Superman has bled. Like they have made what's the old saying? Like if you make a god bleed, then then people stop believing in them. And
Right.
Clemson has shown that it's mortal. Like so now look, defensively they may be indefatigable, but offensively, when you look at what they've got going on, you got to feel like, all right, if we can score 2 to 3 times, whether it's a scoop and score, a special teams play, or on offense, we got to feel pretty good about our defense being able to hold Clemson under 20 points with what they've put out there so far this year, which is like, it's like bizarro world to even say that. But NC State's defense plays with confidence. They are not going to shy away from Clemson. There's some bad blood between those two schools, which I absolutely love. And it is going to be the most hostile environment that Clemson's played in this season. And you're talking about DJ Uiagalelei taking big-time snaps. You're talking about Will Shipley taking big-time meaningful snaps. Marcus Tate on the offensive line taking lots of snaps. 3 guys that are very young and in big-time positions that could be influenced by the fact that it's going to be loud and raucous. Carter Finley is one of the best stadiums in the entire conference.
Man, can't wait to see it, Roddy. Safe travels to you. Have fun with Wes this weekend, and we look forward to catching up with you hopefully next week, as long as we can get it in your schedule, my man.
Love it, man. I appreciate it.
Roddy Jones, follow him right now at Roddy Jones 20 from the ACC Network and Sirius XM here on the show that shakes the Southland. All right, hit that subscribe button. hit that share button. Let's get more people in hour number 2. Let's get it going. It's on you. We'll hit a quick break. We'll come back and react next.
Now, Columbia's most dependable traffic, sponsored by Pope Davis Tire and Automotive, home of the best tire prices in Columbia, guaranteed. Fox Sports Radio 1400 traffic.
A wreck on 378 at St. Peter's, also an accident on River Club Road at Corley Mill. If you're stuck, use the 103.5 FM WVOC traffic tip line 343-1055.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. Hitting speed bumps in your hiring process? Streamline your route to hired with Indeed. Their hiring platform makes it easy to attract, screen, and interview candidates, all in the same place. Find your next great hired and visit Indeed.com/credit.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Babbel. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at babbel.com/TNC.
Have you tried learning a new language, but it never seems to stick? That's because there's more to language than learning vocab words. Babbel is different. Babbel's multiple ways to learn helps you explore every aspect of a new language, anytime, right from your phone or computer. Practice real-life conversations in the Babbel app.
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿Cómo te llamas?
Get personalized help from an instructor in Babbel's live online classes.
Classes are limited to 6 people. We keep them small so everyone can get the help and practice they need.
Review words and phrases with fun games, or dive into the culture with short videos. Whatever your learning motivation, Babbel gives you the tools you'll need to explore your new language. With Babbel, you can speak a new language. Babbel, more ways to explore, more ways to learn. Text Babbel to 64,000 to start learning a new language today. Text Babbel to 64,000. BABBEL to 64,000.
The new year can often bring big changes, some great and some unpleasant. If you're facing a divorce, consult the full-service legal team at Masella Law. Attorney Robert Masella has over 2 decades of experience fighting to protect his clients' assets and making sure that every detail of their divorce is handled carefully. Don't get overwhelmed by the legalities. Get in touch with Masella Law and get started towards your future.
748-9990. Give us a call or just log on MasellaLaw.com.
At Firehouse Subs, we make our subs differently because our subs can make a difference. And now it's never been easier to grab our subs to go for you or your whole crew. With Firehouse Subs Rapid Rescue to Go, you can save time when you order online at firehousesubs.com or on our app. And we'll have your subs boxed, bagged, and ready for pickup at our designated to-go areas. No lines, no waiting. Just more big, bold, craveable subs that help save lives. Firehouse Subs. Enjoy more subs. Save more lives.
Roxanne Watson is on a mission.
Hello, how are you doing today?
She wants more people to register as organ, eye, and tissue donors.
Are you an organ donor?
Yes, I am.
Yay.
My goal is to sign up the most people in the United States.
What drives her? Roxanne's own life was saved through the gift of a heart transplant, made possible by an organ donor.
I decided that day that I was going to devote myself to the cause of organ donation and signing people up and honoring my donor by doing that.
Now she's back to health, and she's a powerful force helping to save lives every day through her work. Imagine what you can make possible by leaving behind the gift of life.
8 people can be helped with the major organs, and up to 50 people can be helped with a little bit of everything. And when you think about it that way, that you could help that many people, it's amazing. It really is.
Learn more and sign up as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. Go to organdonor.gov. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique, but you are not alone. MAD is here to help. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org. That's MADD.org.
Stay on top of today's pop culture. Ace and TJ Mornings and today's hit music all day on 104.7 WNOK.
Hour number 2 of the show that shakes the Southland, Clemson Sports Talk. Lawton Swan with you. Hope you enjoyed Roddy Jones again from the ACC Network, giving us some insight. A former player. He sort of verified one of my, I don't know if it's a hunch, one of my thoughts on it, on Clemson. But the fact that practice might be an issue for DJ just because of what he sees. I mean, it sounds crazy. I know. But if things are going bad at practice, I don't know. I mean, what's the other option, right? Like run the number 2 defense out there and let him have a field day. I mean, that would build his confidence if that is the case. I just don't know. But, Roddy knows a lot about it, a lot more than I do. And so to hear from him on it kind of makes me wonder if there may be some validity to it. All right, so we had several people earlier in the show that commented and several people that have shared the show. We continue to try to hit 1,000 subscribers. The Honey King of the Upstate, Kyle's in the house. Kyle, thank you, man, for stopping by. Kyle, remind me, what town are you in? What town is the Honey? I call it the Honey House. Hooten's Honey House. Listen, if that's not already what you call it, Kyle, you should probably consider changing it. The Hooten Honey House sounds like a place people would want to go. And for the renaming of the business, I'll only need about 10% of the profits off of the top. You know what I'm saying? You just need to be in Honey Path. Then it's the Hooten Honey House in Honey Path. Who can't help but stop there to get their honey and their honeycomb? One of these days, I'm going to get by there. I don't know when, but one of these days. I got to stop being so busy. A couple of things have to happen. I will always do this show, believe me. But I may need, like, the lottery or something to help push me to the next level. Roddy Jones, again, tremendous thoughts on Clemson's matchup with NC State. And I think the fans at NC State, the accurate comment and conversation about the league kind of feeling like Clemson is vulnerable is the reality. And whether it's psychological, whether that's a real tangible thing you can put your hands on, one would believe that when your level of invincibility seems diminished, you will swing a heavier stick at the opponent. And you will perhaps continue to answer the bell. And what I mean by that is if Clemson still looked invincible on offense and they just came out and slugged NC State early and got up 14-0, and Clemson has just been skyrocketing offensively, I can imagine how a player would think, oh, man, this thing, we had our shot, but it's done now. Over and out. Like, I can see how a player psychologically could get psyched out in that moment. I don't think if Clemson's up 14-0, NC State's going to be looking around thinking the big bully's still in the building. I think NC State's going to say, all right, well, let's get a score back and let's make Clemson keep having to play. A fighting chance, whatever you want to call it, I feel like is what these guys feel like they have. Kenneth says, I still say play calling has been a weakness. Go back to the LSU National Championship game. We had great field position many times and could not get into the end zone. ETN would break off 8 yards on first and 10, and the pass on second down would get little or nothing, and we would end up trying a field goal or punting. I do need to go back and watch that game again. I still feel like the biggest play in that game was the missed call by the officials on the sidelines when Clyde Edwards-Helaire stepped out and touched out. If he just stepped out, I could get over that one. But, dude, he not only touched out, he touched his hand out. Foot and hand. Brady says Swanee Tyson could make a spark on offense, in my opinion, just as a changeup. Yeah, and if there had been more possessions on Saturday, you wonder if Clemson would have done that. I thought in the second half they probably should have. I might have started Tyson in the second half. If you hadn't had that if you hadn't had that 2 hours and 30-minute break or whatever it was, maybe Tyson does get the start. And I don't know if the staff would ever admit that that was something they were considering. I don't remember the question being posed. Asked and answered, Your Honor. I don't recall it. But maybe. If that happens, does DJ, is that 6 inches between his ears hurting even more? Brady says, I think we'll beat NC State simply because we can overpower them, but do you think our backup quarterback should get a shot? That was, I guess, the previous question. Part of the previous question. Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, I think Tyson should get a shot, especially even in this game on the road if DJ struggles. Like, kind of like we talked about throwing that deep ball, just to throw that deep ball. Like, even if it's, quote, wasting a down, purposefully wasting it down, I think it could be, you could be purposeful in taking DJ out, giving Tyson a series, and talking to DJ if he's struggling. Like, I don't see a reason to just keep, like, that's a fixed mindset, man. If you just keep running DJ out there and he's struggling, have a growth mindset, give somebody else a little bit of an opportunity. Maybe the competition, breed success kind of thing will kick in for DJ. Maybe he'll recognize that he might be losing his grip on that offense, and maybe he comes out and is much more electric. I think there's a lot of different ways to slice it up and dice it up. Linda, going back to hour number 1. Linda says she hasn't laughed this hard in 17 years after hearing my little comments with Dabo Sweeney. Linda's one of our top fans and a sharer. Dude, amazing. I didn't know it told me that.
Planet unite with world leaders to demand action on our biggest challenges, featuring BTS, Usher, Elton John, Black Eyed Peas, Ed Sheeran, Lizzo, Shawn Mendes, Jennifer Lopez, Coldplay, and other surprise guests. Join us for this once-in-a-generation moment to defend the planet and defeat poverty. Together, we can move the world one action at a time. Hear it all day this Saturday on Global Citizen Radio with the iHeartRadio app.
Imagine a disease that can hurt any part of your body, like your joints, heart, kidneys. Your immune system becomes so hyperactive that it attacks instead of protects. That's lupus. You don't look sick, so no one knows you feel awful. You also may know someone who has it. Join us for Lupus Research Alliance's virtual Many One Can. Walk with us to cure lupus, October 2nd at noon. No one can cure it alone, but many one can. Visit walk.lupusresearch.org to register now.
Plus tags and title with approved credit. Call 888-320-6359 for details. JT's Kia is paying up to $4,000 over book value for your trade. You could even get nearly what you paid for it. I can assure you this is not going to last. And when other dealers' shelves are bare, JT has the Kias you want. New 2022 Kia Telluride, Sorrentos, K5s. Credit concerns? Nobody works harder than JT to get you approved. Come get the most possible for your trade right now at JT's Kia, I-77 at Killian Road, jtskia.com.
Way back when, Colombia was a vast dining desert, a wasteland for fast, fresh, authentic Southwestern food. Weren't nothing bundled up nice and warm in a tortilla. Colombia needed Diablos. Southwestern the way you want it, the real deal, with no shortcuts in quality and served up as fast and fresh as you want it. Diablo Southwest Grill. Sunset Boulevard in Lexington. DiabloSouthwestGrill.com.
This is Chris Collinsworth. Here's what's trending on the iHeart Sports Network, presented by DraftKings.
Tom Brady recently told his teammate Rob Gronkowski he thinks he can play until he's 50. And why not? Brady at 44 is currently leading the league in touchdown passes and is our highest rated quarterback at PFF, fresh off another win and starting the season 2-0 as defending Super Bowl champions. With 14 more passing touchdowns, Brady will have more touchdown passes in his 40s than he had in his 20s. I'm Chris Collinsworth.
Download the DraftKings app and use code SPORTS to get a free shot at millions of dollars up for grabs this week with your first deposit.
Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
Let your voice be heard.
iHeart just made requesting your favorite songs faster and easier than ever. All you need are 4 magic words.
Alexa, make a request.
That's right. Now when you're listening to an iHeart station on any Alexa device, simply say, Alexa, make a request.
Okay, what would you like to hear?
Plus dedicate songs to friends, family, pets, anyone, anywhere, anytime.
I love music.
Alexa, make a request.
Okay.
From iHeartRadio, #1 for music, radio, and podcasts, all in one app.
iHeartRadio.
Melissa from Michigan. I work an extra part-time job serving lunch at my child's school, but I still can't afford to put food on our table.
Daniel from California. Choosing whether to pay the rent or pay to fix the car to get to work doesn't leave us with much at all. Now we can't even pay for meals.
Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Fox Sports Radio 1400. Serving Columbia at 1400. And the world on the iHeartRadio app.
Be honest, I guess I got a little excited there. Missed the break by about 4 seconds. Linda, one of our loyal, what does it call her? She's a sharer and top fan. This badge helps celebrate and identify your most active followers. Top fans can drive engagement in your audience. Thank you, Linda. Driving engagement to the show that shakes the Southland. I mean, honestly, that's amazing. I learned something new today. Something I did not previously know. I will say. So thank you, Linda, for being a part of the program. I venture to guess, or at least I think it is certainly fair to say. Yes, I'm speechless, Linda.
Maybe, yeah. Sorry.
Maybe, yeah. Sorry. All right, 803-450-0086. Again, thank you to Roddy Jones for breaking it down for us here on the program today. A busy day as Clemson prepares for their matchup coming up Saturday against the NC State Wolfpack. 3:30 start on ESPN. Again, Clemson leads the all-time series 59-28-1. Other games in the Atlantic Coast Conference, things get rolling tomorrow as Wake Forest is at Virginia. That's a 3-0 Wake Forest team taking on Virginia, who is 2-1 on ESPN2 tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. Also tomorrow night, Liberty, undefeated Liberty at Syracuse. That's an 8 o'clock start on the ACC network. Saturday in the league, things will get going at noon with a trifecta, a triumvirate, if you will, of games. Missouri's at Boston College. Again, Boston College without Phil Jerkovic, their starting quarterback. I know everybody, I think, really likes the job that Jeff Hafley's done there. I don't know how long Jeff Hafley will be there. I don't know how long he'll be in college football, to be honest with you. But big opportunity for Boston College against Missouri at noon on ESPN2 Saturday. Richmond's at Virginia Tech. I mentioned that one earlier. That's Roddy Jones and West Durham at noon on the ACC network. New Hampshire at Pitt at noon. That game's on the ACC network extra. Then at 12:30, you've got Central Connecticut at Miami. The Hurricanes looking to get back to 500 on the season. Clemson at 3:30 against NC State. Also at 3:30, Louisville at Florida State. The Seminoles 0-3. Hard to believe after the way they started that season, their season against Notre Dame, taking the Fighting Irish, a top 10 team, into overtime, that Florida State would now be 0-3 with the real legitimate potential of going to 0-4. And I think that questions have to be asked about if this continues, if this trend continues in Tallahassee. And look, as bad as, I don't want to say it's bad, But as difficult as it has been for Clemson offensively, I got to think when the Tigers get a chance to face the Seminoles, given the COVID-19 situation a year ago, I don't think Clemson will let the hammer up if they can put it down. Mike Norvell, man, you go 0-4 to start out the season. Woo, at Florida State, a fan base that was so successful under Bobby Bowden, won a national championship in 2013 under Jimbo Fisher, only to have that thing fall apart. So South Carolina, listen, I know you guys are peeking over the fence. I know you guys are hanging out with me. Please don't take offense to this. This is not meant to be an offensive statement. But Steve Spurrier came in and made South Carolina the greatest they had ever been by a wide margin. And it fell off. And it has fallen off. But I'm not so certain that Florida State has fallen further. And that's saying something because of the amount of success that they have had. Hear me out, Gamecock Nation. I think you right now, honestly, are perhaps the better program than the Florida State Seminoles. Now, they have recruited incredibly well through the years. But there is an underlying issue in Tallahassee. Now, if they lose this weekend, they're 0-4. They should beat Syracuse the following weekend. Should. North Carolina will be a tricky one for them. I mean, they got UMass and then they face Clemson. There's a chance Florida State could enter that game against Clemson in the back end of October 2-5, 1-6, entering the game. FSU, yeah, imagine. It's hard to imagine because they've just been so good for so long, in my opinion. That's what's really hard to imagine because they've been so good for so long. Again, that game's a 3:30 ESPN2 game. The other two games, Kansas at Duke. Too bad they're not playing basketball at 4 o'clock on the ACC network. And then North Carolina at Georgia Tech at 7:30 on the ACC network. So that's a quick rundown of all the games in the Atlantic Coast Conference. And for all the Gamecocks, don't forget, they take on Kentucky this weekend. South Carolina and Kentucky facing off in Williams-Brice Stadium. We hit a quick break. We'll come back. Final segment, a big bow on the show next. Or not. Or not. All right. So we'll go another minute, then we'll hit a break. All right. It happens. Welcome to live radio, my friends. You know, honestly, that was a legit mistake. To me, it looked like a 43. It's not. It's a 44. It happens. The Atlantic Coast Conference announced their inaugural Unite Award winners. The ACC announced the recipients of the inaugural ACC Unite Award, which was created in honor of individuals affiliated in the league who have made an impact on the areas of racial and social justice. At Clemson, Craig Mobley, 1969 for basketball. And the female was Cookie Blackney from 1975 in basketball. Stay with us.
Are you thinking about refinancing your home, but worried that closing costs could cancel out any money you would save? It could happen. In fact, average closing costs for a $300,000 home in South Carolina are over $2,000. Yikes! How's that going to save you money? Cap your costs with a zero closing cost mortgage from Cap Center, your local mortgage lender.
This is our 6th time using Cap Center. And once again, the quality of service and speed of processing was excellent, and the savings are substantial.
This was my 3rd refinance with Cap Center. I've been very satisfied. The entire process is simple, never any surprises, and zero closing costs means zero closing costs.
Cap your closing costs. Visit capcenter.com. Equal housing lender. Visit capcenter.com for rates, savings, and offer limitations. This ad contains real client feedback voiced by actors. NMLS ID 67717. NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Hey guys, Lawton Swan here. I was hanging out in the backyard with my son Mason a couple of years ago, and he said, "Dad, you're the best father ever." When I asked him why, he said, "Because when I go outside to play, I don't get eaten up by the bugs anymore." Imagine that, me, a hero, when all I did was call my good buddy Trey Powell at Mosquito Joe. With their routine service plan, no more bugs and no more bites. Make yourself the family hero. Call Mosquito Joe today, 803-223-7916. That's 803-223-7916. Outside is fun again.
Are you in the market for a diamond but aren't sure what to get? For example, do you buy a mine diamond or are you thinking about lab grown? Hey, this is Scott with Traditions Fine Jewelers, and we want to help you decide because at Traditions, we carry a large selection of both mined and lab grown diamonds. A mine diamond is traditional. It was formed in the earth millions of years ago and was discovered and cut specifically for you. The idea of getting something discovered and cut just for you is so romantic, it can make the start of your forever together ring unforgettable. A lab grown diamond is just what it says, a diamond grown in the laboratory that has all the same characteristics as a mine diamond. It's graded just like a mine diamond, and the FTC has even ruled that lab-grown diamonds should be called diamonds because that's what they are. What's great about lab is that you can get a much larger size lab-grown diamond for the same price of a mine diamond, and getting a larger stone is very attractive to many people. Traditions Fine Jewelers staff is ready to help you find the perfect diamond just for you, mined or lab-grown. Traditions Fine Jewelers, where the Midlands get engaged.
Hi, I'm Alicia Kaufman Quinton. My daddy, Billy Kaufman, opened Kaufman's Meat Plant at our present location in 1955. My family still works hard every day to ensure fresh quality cuts of beef, pork, and poultry. How about a tasty T-bone, ribeye, or New York strip steak? But to order at Kaufman's Meat Place, just look for the signs near the intersection of US 1 and I-20 in Lexington. Call us at 356-0076 to place your order. Kaufman's Meat Place, when you want the very best your money can buy.
It only takes a minute to find out if you may have prediabetes, and you can do it at doihaveprediabetes.org. But you're probably not going to. Nope. I'm sure you've got a perfectly good excuse. Kids, work. I get it. You're busy. So what better time than now? Let's begin. Raise one finger if you're a man. Ladies, none yet. Oh, count in your head if you're driving. Now, 3 more fingers for everyone over 60, 2 over 50, 1 over 40. 1 more if you're not physically active. Another finger if anyone in your family has type 2 diabetes. Another if you've got high blood pressure. If you're overweight, raise another finger. 2 if you're very overweight. And 3 if you're really overweight. You've just taken the world's first audio prediabetes test. And if you're holding up 5 or more fingers, visit doihaveprediabetes.org or talk to your doctor. There's no excuse because prediabetes can be reversed.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its pre-diabetes awareness partners.
Fox Sports Radio 1400. Online at foxsportsradio1400.com. On your phone with the iHeartRadio app and on hundreds of devices like Alexa, Google Home, Xbox, and Sonos. An iHeartRadio station.
What have you done for me lately? It's a fair question. Just don't lose sight of the bigger picture. Don't forget history. Lucky for us at Clemson, the answer to the questions, what have you done for me lately, and what have you done always, are the same. We win.
Final segment on a Thursday. I think you might have gotten double commercials or at least echoes there. That's my fault. That's on me. All right. So our buddy Brett Ciancia over at Pick Six Previews ran the numbers of records from the Power 5 leagues through the first 3 weeks of the season. Overall, the best team in college football against all competition, the Big 12, if you can believe that. Big 12 is 23-4 overall, according to this in non-conference games, with a 852 winning percentage. The SEC non-conference games overall 30-6. That's a 833 winning percentage. Again, these are non-Power 5 games. The Big 12 with the best winning percentage so far. The Big 10 checks in at 24-7. That's a 77.4% winning percentage. And the ACC checks in at 22-12, which is a 64% winning percentage. 64.7 if we're going to give you the decimals. And then the Pac-12, non-conference, 16-16. 500 is the Pac-12 currently non-conference. The Pac-12 also at the bottom of the rankings versus Power 5 opponents. At 3-9, that is a 25% winning percentage for the Pac-12. The ACC checks in next to last at 3-8. That is a 27% winning percentage. That's 11 games, however. The Big 12 has played just 7 games against Power 5 teams. They are currently 4-3, which is a 57.1% winning percentage. The SEC has played 10 games. They are 6-4 against the Power 5. That is a 60% winning percentage. And then the Big 10 on top, 8-5, 61% winning percentage for the Big 10 against Power 5 teams. What I found interesting about this information is the fact that I've felt like the Atlantic Coast Conference against Power 5 opponents has been disastrous, and yet it has not been great. Has not been great. But, I mean, the reality is there's not a huge difference between the leagues in terms of numbers of games played and the winning percentage. I mean, if you get the ACC to win a game, like if, for example, this weekend, if Boston College beats Missouri, I mean, you start to tick a game here or there in the direction of another league. And I'm just kind of flabbergasted at how little, and this kind of goes back and supports my argument that I've had in the past about the leagues playing more intra-conference games, or is that inter? Whatever, where they play each other more often, like getting out of your little conference or whatever, playing other people. Like that to me is always the thing that's so tough, because the measure of a league tends to come down to just the perception of the league. Now, part of that is what you do out of conference, and you can't deny what the Big Ten and the SEC have done and what the ACC and the Pac-12 haven't. But it's not some huge number. It's not like the ACC is 30-80 and the SEC is 60-40. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a handful of games here or there. I mean, if the ACC were to win 3 more games against the SEC, the ACC is 6-8 and the SEC is 6-7. Like, that's what's kind of crazy about it. It's such a small sample size. Speaking of the SEC, it also announced today. Again, I don't know if this is the SEC or the Securities Exchange Commission. It's the actual SEC. The college football one. They announced today that schools can now give athletes up to $5,980 toward academic expenses, including direct financial support in the form of academic achievement awards. So there you go. That news coming out today. And again, college football has definitely changed. There's no question about that. Final thing, talk about the stories that aren't stories. Dabo Swinney running down the hill and people being bothered by that. People being bothered by that fact that Brandon Walker, who apparently hosts a show, I've never heard of Brandon. He's got about 180,000 followers on Twitter, though. Congrats, Brandon, on that. The Brandon Walker College Football Show. He tweeted out that one of the most under-discussed things in college football right now is Dabo Swinney taking Clemson's awesome interest and made it all about themselves. All about himself. He said, that's weird. Yeah, Dabo runs down the hill, but he goes and greets everybody. The thing that he does try to do, and the reason that he's running so fast is he's always tried to run down the cheerleaders who were carrying the flag, that big Clemson flag. It's just kind of made it his little challenge. He just has fun with it. I'll be interested to know the year Dabo can't do it. That's a bigger story to me. All right, we got to get out of here. We'll be back tomorrow. Until then, as always, y'all take care now and go Tigers.
Clemson Sports Talk with Lawton Swan on Columbia's home for sports. Fox Sports Radio 1400. Now, Columbia's most dependable traffic, sponsored by Pope Davis Tire and Automotive, home of the best tire prices.
Hey, James, yeah. Pumachan is healthy, as I know. Pumachan is healthy. Thank you to everybody on the podcast. Again, if you're a podcast listener, this is a little exclusive for you. Go subscribe. Just take a minute and please go subscribe to our YouTube channel. That'll help us get to our 1,000. Pumachan, P-H-O-M-M-A-C-H-A-N-H. We're gone. See y'all tomorrow. Take care. Go Tigers.